today is, Heavenly Father, there's no storm that God won't carry you through, no bridge that God won't help you cross, no battle that God won't help you win. Trust God and never give up. Amen.
So on October 17th, for the Department on Aging, for the action taken on October 3rd, 2023 by the board, I approved and executed the Western Reserve Area Agency on Aging grant proposal for the provision of community-based services to provided to Geauga seniors age 60 and over under the Older Americans Act Title 3B Supportive Services, Title 3C Nutrition Services, and Title 3B Evidence-Based Health Promotions, and Title 3E Family Caregiver Support Program, and State Senior Community Services funds for program years 2024 through 2027. On October 19th, for the Department on Aging, I accepted the resignation of Jessica Kaluga, Fiscal and Budget Officer, to be effective October 27th, 2023, and I granted permission to advertise for the position of full-time Fiscal and Budget Officer. This position will remain posted until filled, and I approved the revised effective date for Holly Petrinick to start in the position of full-time Recreation and Education Assistant to be effective October 23rd, 2023 at the rate of $16.35 per hour with a one-year probationary period. This offer of employment is contingent upon the successful completion of the required pre-employment conditions. And for the Department of Water Resources, I approved hiring Norman Ray Duffeld Jr. for the position of full-time mechanic to be effective November 12, 2023 at the rate of $25.78 per hour with a one-year probationary period, and this offer of employment was also contingent upon the successful completion of the required pre-employment conditions.
Okay.
Morning, Andrew.
Good morning.
Okay, today's financials include appropriations transfers from the treasurer's office to cover payroll to year end. As it was, they had the budget they had submitted back for 2023 back in 2022. There were raises that had been given after the submission of their budget, and we never adjusted those. So they submitted the same budget for 2023 that they had submitted in 2022. So that's why we were a little behind going into this year. So supplementals also from the Commissioner's Office to true up the state sales tax expense account as well as our payroll accounts to cover the hiring of the assistant county administrator, which we had not previously budgeted for. So there were cash transfers from the general fund to the Board of BD for gas well proceeds from July through September of 2023. Also cash transfers from the general fund to community development, Nuts and Bond, and Board of Elections for the third quarter 2023 interest transfer. Among the encumbrances was a purchase order from the building department to Junction Auto Sales Incorporated to purchase a 2023 GMC Terrain replacement vehicle. Numerous travel requests, one from the Commissioner's Office to attend the 2023 County Commissioners Association of Ohio Winter Conference, from the engineer to attend the 2023 County Engineers Association of Ohio Winter Conference, from the public defender to attend the annual Public Defender Summit, and from Water Resources to attend the 2023 County Sanitary Engineers Association of Ohio Winter Conference. There were then and nows from Water Resources to Mission Communications LLC for monitoring and alarm services at various water and sewer locations within the department that were not previously encumbered. Among the vouchers are $99,397 from the Commissioner's Office to Donnelly's Independence Incorporated for pay request number 31 for the new county office building project. $22,640.42 from the Commissioner's Office to Environments for Business. This is their final pay request for office furniture in the new county office building as they had completed the terms of their contract. And $954,514.92 from the Engineer's Office to Roniak Paving Incorporated for the asphalt resurfacing of Clay Street and Morgan and Leggett Roads. And finally, revenue certifications from the Sheriff's Office and their 800 Communications Permanent Improvements Fund, and in Water Resources and various accounts in the Sewer Fund to true up balances for the additional unbudgeted revenue in 2023.
Okay. I'll make the motion.
Second.
Commissioner Whitten?
Yes.
Commissioner DeBoer?
Yes.
Commissioner Spillier?
Aye.
And then the next item on the agenda is the Commissioner's Office is requesting the board to approve and execute Resolution 23-177, requesting the county auditor to establish a new fund in regards to the Healthy Aging Grant to account for monies received, expended, and distributed by the Board of County Commissioners in accordance with the requirements of the grant.
So moved.
Second.
Commissioner Lennon?
Aye.
Commissioner DeWort?
Yes.
Commissioner Spillier?
Aye.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Jamie.
Morning, Jeremy.
Morning.
Item number 4, County Engineer's Office requesting the board approve and execute change order number 1 and final, increasing the contract with Bryant Paving Incorporated for the asphalt resurfacing of Washington Street, County Highway 606, Section C and through E in Auburn and Bainbridge Township in the amount of $18,656.65.
Okay, so moved.
Second.
Commissioner Lennon?
Yes.
Commissioner DeWort?
Yes.
Commissioner Spillier?
Yes, thank you. Item 5, this item relates to how we bid our projects. This is the County Engineer's Office requesting the board approve and execute an agreement between Geauga County Board of Commissioners and Infotech Incorporated, DBA Infotech, and further authorize the president of the board to execute the Infotech Bid Express order form for equipment and services for the County Engineer's Office to utilize Bid Express platform to receive bids and for applicable projects. There's no cost to the county for this service, as the fees are paid by the vendor wishing to submit bids for the projects.
Okay, great. So moved.
Second.
Commissioner Lennon?
Aye.
Commissioner DeWort?
Yes.
Commissioner Spillier?
Is it a reasonable fee that they're charging the
It
people?
is, they have two fee structures. It's a pay per bid or pay per year. This is a system that the state uses for all their bidding. So if you're a registered contractor,
You probably got like a membership on it.
they pay by the year, and then they can do any other vendors, like Lake County uses this system. I think Delaware County, a number of municipalities use this. It expedites the process and sort of makes it a digital format. It's a pretty nice system.
For organizational purposes too, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So just real quick, so basically they'll bid on that, and then all the bids will be disclosed at one point in time?
Yep. Yeah, well, the bids will be opened electronically on the Bid Express web system, and that information would then be available to anybody that was registered to see that. It also produces the bid tabulations automatically and distributes them to the bidders list, so it saves us some work, and then we would also, utilize this for our township bids and do that all from our office. So it'll save quite a bit of time.
Is it mandatory for all the contractors to use this?
No. Some of the projects we've bid in the past have been with lower tech or even some Amish based businesses, and they may not have access to the digital format. They'd still be able to submit paper bids.
Okay, good.
All right, yes, then.
All set?
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
So basically, and then it would be anything the regular departments are still bidding as a situation.
Good
Morning,
morning.
Commissioners.
How are you?
Fine, how about you?
Good.
Good. Okay, today the Planning Commission is requesting the board approve and execute the Jansen subdivision replat of sublots 1 and 2 in Auburn Township. This involves 30 acres is being split from a property owned by Country Squire Holdings, and it's going to be consolidated with sublot 1 and 2 of the Jansen subdivision. It's going to create a 40.3385 acre lot with frontage on Messenger Road. And it was approved at the October 12th Planning Commission meeting.
Great. So moved.
Second.
Commissioner Lennon?
Yes.
Commissioner DeWort?
Yes.
Commissioner Spillier?
Good morning.
Morning. How's everybody?
Good.
Good. So today,
Johnson County Development, Community and Economic, I should say, Building Department, is requesting the board approve and execute the agreement with Dex Imaging for the purchase of the Rico IMC 3010 copier with all parts, labor, travel for all services, preventative maintenance, toner and image units included in the amount of $7,544 for the copier and a cost of 1 cent per copy for black and white and 7 cents per copy for color for a period of 5 years and not to exceed the amount of $30,000. So this was a budgeted item for our department, of course, the beginning of this year, so we were finally able to get this done. So we're really just looking for final contract to be signed by you all, and we can move forward.
Okay, just before we move forward with this contract, is this the same business that we're using through the Commissioner's office?
Yes, so I was asked, Jerry guided along the way, because this is new for me to do. So this is actually an approval through ADP. They helped us procure this.
Okay.
And Dex Imaging is being used throughout the county.
Okay.
Several departments.
The reason I ask, I know we have a unit that, I don't know how old it is that's in our office now, but I've heard nothing but complaints. They've been out to service it a number of times, and I don't know if we've got a lemon or what, but at some point, either these guys, hold up their end of the bargain and get us a different unit in here, or we got to start looking for a different vendor that's going to do what they're
Yeah, I'm not
supposed
sure.
to do.
I know you guys, I believe, brought those over. They were new for you at 470, but I don't believe yours is through Dex. I think you would.
It is.
Is it Dex too?
Originally through somebody else, and then Dex.
And then you went
bought
with
them.
Dex,
It was
yeah.
bought out. Dex bought out the previous vendor.
Okay.
I would say, before we jump back in bed with them again on another deal, they take care of the commitment that they made with us before.
They were here the
Yeah.
other day. Adrian just told me this morning they were here
Yeah.
yesterday.
We think it's related to the sidecar
Okay.
paper feeder,
That's
so they
fine.
removed that, and it seems to work better without it. They do want to bring in another new one
Okay.
and attach it and see if that...
So they're addressing it?
Yes.
Okay.
And that should be dotted throughout their contract as well, like ours. Our copier is as basic as it comes. I mean,
Okay.
you're gonna hit a button and that's about it, because it's all we can afford, so.
Sounds good.
Yeah, but, I don't, if you're gonna sign it or not, that's
No,
up
I
to you
mean-
today, I get it.
That's fine,
Yeah.
but, when we're negotiating, we just gotta make sure we're,
Yeah, my understanding is, ADP this is the company that they have chosen to
Okay, yeah,
mostly do.
that's fine.
I thought there were like 2 or 3 options, I'm sure they've added them, but
Okay.
I'm not sure we went down
Okay.
that rabbit hole.
All right, I'll make the motion to approve.
Thank you.
Second.
Commissioner Leonard?
Yes.
Commissioner DeBoer?
Yes.
Commissioner Spudler?
Thanks so much.
Thanks.
Go ahead.
Good morning, how are you guys this morning?
Good.
Okay. John Transfer requesting the board to approve and execute a letter of support for the grant. What this grant is ODOT released an Ohio Mobility Workforce Program to the 5307 to urbans. Again, I don't qualify for that. But, like with NOACA, with the underserved, we can get it through, they can get the funding, the money, and then give it to us locally so we can have it. So the goal is, it's for workforce geared towards big businesses. So our plan, if we get approved, like this is just to apply for the grant, this is an approval. Our goal is to start in the Middlefield area for the businesses there where they're going over to Warren. Warren does not have transportation into Geauga County currently, except for medical. Like they'll transport for a certain fee for medical, but that's it, they won't do for work. We can't meet up with them, they don't come to the county line, so we can't go to the county line, and we don't go all the way to Warren at this point. So the goal is that we would go in towards the Warren area and pick up and bring them back towards the Middlefield area. Once we've done the businesses that ODOT wants for this grant, then we can do the smaller things like the Amish. So the goal is to pick up them, bring them into their work, and then pick up the Amish in the Middlefield area and take them on to Bainbridge, Chester, wherever they're currently going. So we'll be getting 2 workforces under the grant that is geared towards businesses. The goal is to do the businesses and then follow it up with the Amish so that if we have a driver out there, why not use them for both things? So the purpose is to get operating expenses for 3 years and 3 buses. So that would include 4 full-time drivers, 1.5 dispatchers, meaning 1 full-time and 1 part-time dispatcher, and then all the operating expenses to cover it for 3 years so that we can get it up and going and hopefully keep it going after that or apply for a grant or what we need to do, but this would be just an initial start with it. Being that if it wasn't for Lake County couldn't do it, it has to go through them and then it would come through to us. So I'm just looking for your support to help us get support for ODOT to say that you guys are on board with us to try to implement this workforce program.
I did get a phone call 2 weeks ago from Senator Sandra O'Brien asking about this, and I told her, yes, this is legit, it's fine, we'll probably move forward at this meeting, so.
Okay, yeah, we did reach out to the different senators. I've reached out to Trumbull County, and they put me in touch with Warren Transit. They've done a letter of support saying, absolutely, we'd love to partner with you guys to try to get transportation across county lines, because there just isn't any for work right now. They do it for medical only.
Okay. Very good. So move.
Second?
Mr. Lyon?
Yes.
Mr. DeWitt?
Yes.
Mr. Spudler?
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Morning, Nick.
Morning. Item 9 on the agenda is just requesting the board to extend a current service contract agreement for 4 months through the end of this year. Doesn't change the contract amount with Buckeye Scale. They do our scale calibration services.
Make a motion?
Second?
Mr. Lyon?
Aye.
Mr. DeWitt?
Yes.
Mr. Spudler? Yes.
And is that the only scale that Water Resource has?
Large scale. We have smaller ones at the lab.
How old is this scale?
So we're actually having that reviewed by Mettler right now. It's a Mettler Toledo scale, and they are looking at if we need to replace pads or, what needs to be updated on the system. So they'll be looking at it here shortly.
Is it digital?
Yeah. No, it was a digital system that once had a card system to it too, that individual septic vendors that came in just had to swipe the card. That system hasn't worked in a while. It's been more just it's got matrix printer attached to it, so it's old. So we're working on it.
The McFarland plant scale, that's been down for a while?
It's been down for a couple months now. So,
And that's being repaired?
yes, that's what we're working on right now with Mettler Toledo.
Okay.
So, thank you.
Yep, thank you.
Budget Commission.
Okay. Morning.
Morning.
How are you?
Good. I'm gonna grab it. Yeah, I'll bring my own.
There you go.
There you go.
How are you? Morning.
Good. Good. You wanna open the meeting again?
Sure, we just noticed this, so I'll open our meeting.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
We don't do roll call or anything. We're all here.
Well, here. So as a result of actually my budget hearing about a month ago, not quite a month ago, I know the commissioners had asked when they were advised that the reval was commencing and soon to be released to the public. There was concern by the commissioners expressed of what could they do to offset the increase in inside millage that would be an unvoted increase of tax to the taxpayer. So I took that information back to the Budget Commission at our next meeting, and then for the last, 2 or 3 meetings, we've been debating the various approaches that could be taken by any taxing authority that is benefiting from inside millage, of how they could mitigate what I think Mr. Hitchcock adequately termed it as an unvoted tax increase. Nobody voted for this. It just goes with the math of a reval. So for your benefit, I think you received this in the letter, but these have been updated how many times? Pass it.
Did this stay the same?
That stayed the same. The second page, we've added a little bit more detail for you, and so I've provided those to you as well. I've got a couple of copies that people wanted. So basically, the first sheet is an explanation of what happens when a reval occurs and what phenomena happens automatically. And as you know, reval is mandated by law every 6 years. And as a result of that reval, it turns out that inside millage moves proportionately with value. So if the reval determines that residential values move by 30%, inside millage moves by 30%. And there's some built-in inequities with that we could debate here till we're blue in the face, but I don't know that that's productive. There, just for full disclosure, there is efforts underway at the State House to try to find ways of mitigating this anomaly. Obviously, response from the state usually comes when something drastic occurs, which I believe this is. Jaga is not the highest increase value, but it is one of the more affluent communities which is experiencing this high tax increase. So the question really comes, is there anything the State House will do between now and the end of the year to mitigate this? I think we all probably know the answer to that. Maybe long-term they'll do something, but short-term I think the ball's in our court. And so we did look at a variety of options. One option, I believe, that was put out there by the commissioners when I met with you is, could you reduce your inside millage collection, for example? And I think Jim probably can best, explain why that may not be your best alternative.
Yeah, that's something that we look at. I mean, that would be an easy way to do it, right? We're getting this windfall in inside millage. Let's just draw back the inside millage collection. The problem is, that's what the inside millage is, the unvoted tax. It's kind of the base tax, which the schools get, you get, the local governments get. And when you take some of that inside millage off the table, so you drop below that 10 mils, it's available for anyone. So the health department could come in and grab it. Any library could come in and grab it. The school districts could come in and grab it. And then once the school comes in, that happened years ago with Newberry. Before the Newberry schools went away, that's something that came before us several times. And while we have a role in that inside millage determination, if somebody can demonstrate need and goes down to the state, we're kind of powerless at the local level to stop that. And what happened many, many years ago was Newberry schools grabbed some of that inside millage from Newberry Township and then kept it for 60, 80 years. And the township was out that money, and there were times where the township needed the money. So there's really an inherent risk with drawing down the inside millage. You could lose some control, and we wanted, again, this is just our recommendation. This ultimately is your decision, but when we were looking at making a recommendation, we don't want to put you at risk. We don't want something that could be a forever problem for you. The recommendation we ultimately came up with, which I'll let them talk about, gives you that year-to-year flexibility, which I think is important.
So virtually everybody in the county is at the 10 mil ceiling. There are a few exceptions. There are some school districts that are from other counties that kind of drop down into Jaga. And so that particular inside millage component fractionally is removed. But for all practical purposes, we're all at the 10 mil ceiling, and it's broken out pretty consistently in the county. So 25% or 2.5 mils of it is the county's. That's what you're entitled to, and that's what you obtain annually. 3 mils or 30% of it goes to whatever local government the property is within. If it's in the city of Chardon, it goes to them. If it's within a village, it goes to the village. If it's in a township, it goes to the township. And then the remainder, 4.5 mils or 45%, go to the school district of whatever, wherever that parcel is located. And, so we have appealed to all political subdivisions. We've sent letters not only to you, you precipitated this. So I give the commissioners a lot of credit for asking the question. It's not something I think a lot of beneficiaries of untaxed money would do. But you did, and that should be noted. We have those sent similar letters to all of the school districts, all of the townships, all the electeds in those townships, all the villages, all the council people in those villages, as well as the mayor and the fiscal officers, and then the city of Chardon. I will tell you, I've gotten about not quite a half a dozen townships who have reached out and said, how do we do this? And I think I expressed to you, Tim, we had a conversation yesterday. One in particular said, if the county does this, we're in. Yeah. Which I think is, they're looking for leadership, and I think this is an opportunity for you. Chris, do you have anything to add?
Only that in my many years of service, we have never experienced a sexennial increase of this magnitude. It translates into a $9.6 million tax increase without a single person voting for it. That is inherently wrong. That the commissioners had the wisdom to consider alternatives is to be supported and applauded. The key now is to show continued leadership by taking this unvoted increase off the table and doing it appropriately and justly, to show all of the other taxing entities that there is daylight at the end of the tunnel. It is my hope that this $10 million, $9.6 million, that's $10 million bucks, can be resolved in the very near future. There are certain hurdles that must be met for the tax bills to go out in January. We have until about November 15th to get this done. Otherwise, it will have to wait until the following tax season. That means come January, when the tax bills go out, we're going to send 55,000 tax bills that will generate additional monies of $5 million. There will be more people who are purposely late than we've ever experienced before. This is not good for our county. We are in the enviable position of having substantial financial resources. It is my hope that the commissioners will continue to show leadership and get this job done in the very near future. I also want to note that this is the first time in my memory that the Budget Commission has come in person to make this presentation. This is that important. We are all very busy people, as you are. For us to take time out to come to make this presentation to the commissioners indicates its singular importance. Thank you.
So let me ask you, so what is so lay out the whole plan as far as we, 100% I'm supportive of this thing going away. The actual plan then in place is going to be what? So that your bills are going to reflect that this does not have the increase? What exactly is it then that we need to take? We're basically going to say that we are not willing to accept that 25%?
Well, we have to kind of do two things in order to make this go away, and they're short term, because I think the long term solution is in Columbus. But let's just deal with what we have in front of us for next year. So obviously the county does not levy a tax directly. You have sales tax, which we considered. You have inside millage, and then you get some derivative of property tax, but it's through a process that is not levied directly by a vote. So we looked at the sales tax phenomena, for example, and what we concluded was many people who are paying sales tax do not live in the county. So by reducing sales tax, you're benefiting people who are not paying this increase. The second factor of that is as you realize, your bond is leveraged against sales tax, and I would discourage jeopardizing that collateral connection. Having been on the calls when those were first set up, I know they were pretty definitive on we want to protect the asset that's paying for that bill. So under your authority, you do have two agencies that are taxing the residents directly. And the advantage of the county taking this action is every taxpayer in the county experiences it, every single property owner. So JFS has several levies that are taxed to all of the county, and Department on Aging has a levy that's taxed. There are two types of tax levies. Levies that occurred before 2013 are called qualified levies, which means they qualify for 12.5% to be paid by the state. So the effect of that tax to a taxpayer is only 87.5%.
To the local
taxpayer. Mm-hmm. You still get 100% of the money, but the state is kicking it in. So it's disadvantaged to you to reduce that component because you're only getting 87.5% of it, not 100%. JFS, however, has a levy that is a non-qualified levy. And so I have those for you to consider. This, and I only have a couple extras, so I'm sorry. I didn't make enough copies.
Thank you.
This is, the GFS has a .5 mil levy. If I misspeak, I'm going to rely on Ron to chime in, because he cranked these out this morning. We recommend that you consider completely suppressing the collection of this levy, and then use the inside millage increase to offset whatever JFS needs. Basically, don't charge the taxpayer because they're already paying for it in an inside millage increase. Just move the money through the inside fund, through the general fund inside transfer to JFS. If they need it, they may not need all of the money. So you're looking at about $1.6 million of direct advantage to a taxpayer.
So you don't collect the GFS levy, and then if GFS needs 1.6 million, you take that extra inside millage you got, and you can just supplement them to the general fund. Again, if they, we've had discussions with GFS in the past. I think they have like a $12 million cash carryover. So I know Craig's back there, probably, staring laser beams through my back, but there is a big cash carryover there, so you may not need to supplement all of that $1.6 million loss, but the board will have the flexibility to handle that however you want.
So that leaves you a bit short, and we're not recommending, we estimated about 2.4 million is what the increase in inside millage would be to the county. And I am a conservative thinker, so I don't want you to be strapped with reducing a tax below that which you're currently expecting and operating under. So I would use a reasonable multiplier of that 2.4 million, 90%, 85%, something reasonable. So we used approximately that number. So what's left in the equation is about $600,000 that would not be, which the taxpayers would still be paying in addition to. So it gives you two choices. You can reduce another levy in JFS, which is a non-qualified levy. So it's going to get an 87% advantage to the taxpayer. Or go to the Department on Aging. Having thought this through this morning, Ron actually came up with the idea that to make it easy for Adrian, rather than dealing with two different departments, why not just deal with one department? It would be one transfer. So I guess my recommendation as auditor would be to keep it within the JFS family. And so their levy, I provided two sheets for you.
So Chuck, so what about the current levy that's going to be on the ballot in November?
Yeah, the current levies that are on the ballot in November are health department and mental health.
Right.
And they do not collect until the following year.
Well, those are renewals, and they're not directly through the county. If that makes sense. So, do they have the same effect to the taxpayer? Absolutely.
Right.
But they're not getting inside millage. That's the crux.
And this provides you, I guess you could make agreements with those separate boards and supplement them through the general fund. Say, hey, if you draw down your levy, we'll pay out of the general fund and make up the difference. You could do that. Again, we don't want to pick on JFS, but that's completely under your control. And that gives you the most flexibility and gives Adrian the most flexibility. So that's the only reason we're making the recommendation for those levies.
And I guess to just so that I'm clear, let's say, for example, the mental health levy goes through. They're going to go through based on, what their projection of coming up with the levy was going to basically be looking at, okay, we need X number of dollars. But in reality now, that's basically going to totally change, that dollar is going to go way up. So
no, it won't.
Because it's a renewal.
So there was a House bill passed in 1987, House Bill 920, which it used to be that way. Prior to 1987, you're exactly right. All boats rose. Every levy amount went up by the reval. In 1987, a group of auditors and treasurers got together and they petitioned the legislature to say, we need an anti-inflationary measure put on levies that people vote on. So what happens is we calculate what's called a reduction factor. So as values go up, we reduce the millage to reflect.
So the amount will always be the same regardless of what the value is.
Exactly. You just pay a lower rate.
Except for new construction.
New construction's added at the original rate, but it's not included in the original amount.
And new levies.
And new levies are all fresh money.
Yeah.
There are how many levies on the ballot?
There are 16?
30-something.
30-something, and 6 are new money. about half a dozen new money.
So you need to speak to those levies that will be impacted significantly.
You don't have any in that
All
catalog?
the new levies, and if they're running something through these townships, and all those dollars that, what they thought they were gonna look to get, it's basically gonna be that much more.
But it will be reduced. It will always be true to the language on the ballot of how much it will collect.
Okay.
But it will be equalized about whose property goes up and whose went down, and then it will be reduced by a reduction factor because all values went up.
I see.
So it's a complicated equation.
So this move that we will make, and I'm fully in favor of moving forward with this as soon as possible, would be essentially a 25% decrease to the increase.
Yeah, you're going to offset
Yeah.
a 25% increase by approximately a 25% decrease.
Okay.
So the taxpayers will see a zero-sum gain from your component. And if everyone who is a beneficiary were to do that,
Yeah.
there'd be no tax increase, which
And-
would be the perfect
And
world.
I could see, like, we talked yesterday, and I could definitely see, and I know there's townships and some municipalities that are able to continue to perform and do the necessary services and provide with what they have now. They don't need the windfall. My concern is going to be the schools and trying to, and I think that this board, along with, it sounds like you already have, should write a letter to the schools saying, look, this is a group effort, and that we need to really do this as a whole community and not just various boards here and there if we're going to do this. Because, a 33% increase, although, our portion is significant, we're definitely on the smaller side of things here. So if there's, a way that we can all do that together, that would be great.
Percentage-wise, you are on the smaller size. The advantage I think you have with setting the example is you affect every parcel owner.
Yeah.
Rather, a school district only
True.
affects theirs,
True, yeah.
and a township only, right? So it's kind of like everyone needs to do this to make have the same effect as what you are
Gotcha.
doing.
Yep.
So I did bring copies for your benefit, and I put them in groups for your benefit.
So Charlie,
These are
have
the
you had
letters.
conversations with any of the schools so far? Have they reached out to you at all?
Well, they haven't, but we have reached out through letter, and then I'm now going door to door. So here's, and I'm going to try to be delicate with, and not be the hammer looking for the nail, right? Schools are trying to minimize this for a lot of reasons, and I understand that. School funding has been unconstitutional for 35 years, and the schools struggle with trying to understand how to fund themselves. They are relying on an initiative that's currently in the House called House Bill 187, which is trying to address this, but it's a knee-jerk reaction. It's not a good solution. I have it on pretty good authority from the Senate side that the Senate is not really interested in a knee-jerk solution. They want a long-term solution. So House Bill 187 wants me to go back and reval for 3 years all properties in the county and then average those values. That's not going to have a huge effect because housing prices have climbed every year for the last 3 years.
Could go up.
Yeah.
Some people's
It could go
houses
up,
go
yeah.
So it may reduce the inside millage effect, but it's not going to cut it by 25%. I don't think it's going to cut it by the amount that you have control over.
Right.
I think the right solution would be to take inside millage and roll it into House Bill 920. That's the long-term solution, which means now people have a vote anytime their taxes go up. But that's going to come through lobbyists that are going to bang their heads together because schools are going to want to protect their turf. And I understand that, and I'm not here to judge the school funding mechanism. I'm here to just say, I think it's inherently unconstitutional that we tax people without a voice. And so, to your point, Ralph, I think that's going to be, I view it's going to be the hardest sell. I would rather go after where I can get low-hanging fruit, and that's with townships, villages, and the city and the county, because I think we are more in touch with the person voting. We understand what's on their minds. Sometimes schools are a little detached, and that's not trying to be a criticism, but...
And we're going to look at that next year. I mean, we look at the school budgets like everything else, and
Some of them have some health carryovers, if I remember.
they do. And if they get this windfall, we're going to look at that, but we're going to look at that in, February. And that's not going to help taxpayers next year. I mean, it'll help taxpayers the year after that, but it won't provide, they're still going to have that shock to their system come January 1st. And again, you can only do 25% of the equation, which will help, certainly. That's a huge help.
Better than a poke in the eye, for
Yeah,
sure.
that's right, yeah.
So on that first handout I gave you with the cover letter, on page 2, you can see every entity in the county and how much they're getting. The far right-hand column is the increase that we estimate they're going to experience. You're right at the top at 2.4 million, and then you can go down the list of every school district, including those not within the county, but have bleed-over parcels. And then you can see the townships, the villages, and the city, and what they're going to experience. You know, realistically, some villages, like Aquila Village, they're getting, what, $1,500? I mean, they're getting a minimal amount of money.
$1,300. They need it.
Well, but, you know, you have to look at it per household, right? There's not very many houses there. But if you look at others, there's huge windfall money. And none of this has been voted. So I think people have a right to raise their hand and say yay or nay, and then we do the democratic thing. We follow what the vote says.
Chuck, one of the questions I had asked, and you had answered it for me, but you can answer for the board, I guess, it would be, this is on an annual basis. One of the concerns I had, would there be any negative impact to, say, JFS or Department of Aging in any way with their levies in the future? I mean, I know we will financially make them whole, but is there anything that could come back to haunt us in any way?
Well, so the action that you're taking is not dispelling of or dispensing of the levy.
Okay.
You're just suppressing a year of collection.
Okay.
Which we had done before.
Yeah.
I think we did, Craig, correct me, was it last year?
Oh, yeah, the rollback.
Last year, Craig voluntarily suppressed one of his levies.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's a good indicator to the taxpayer. We are watching our money, and when cash balances increase, we're not taking it and hoarding it. We shouldn't be a bank as government. We should be using the money. And there's a reasonable carryover that's allowed and expected, but an unreasonable carryover should be in the hands of the people. It shouldn't be in our hands.
Right.
And Craig, to his credit, was willing and said, yeah, I'm okay right now. That could change with changes to the government and the federal requirements. And so I like to keep him his options of saying, I need some more of that money.
Right.
But you have to look at it in a moment.
Because that was voted on, and that money was,
Correct.
has a designated purpose. What, to be clear, Greg, what, this levy, I don't know if you know in particular which one it's going to be.
Yeah, it's
but,
45 mil.
what is that, those funds designated for, the majority of those dollars used for?
Placement costs for children in residential care.
Okay.
The Children's Services levy, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, again, I think, as you know, and we've taken some hits, I mean, we've involuntarily drawn down, collections from entities that we felt didn't demonstrate need, and that's one of our functions as a budget commission, and sometimes that isn't popular with those entities. But I think in the past, like when Craig, we talked to Craig about his balances, he did draw down, it came to you guys approved drawing down that levy. It's always been our view that when people do it voluntarily and we're not forcing them to do it, you're building trust with taxpayers.
That's right. We're budgeting.
Exactly, and you're telling taxpayers, hey, you voted for this, but you know what? If we do have too much money at any given period of time, we're going to make an effort to keep it in your pocket if we don't need it. And if you build that trust with taxpayers, I actually think it'll have a positive effect on levies going forward.
In the long run, yeah.
Because who does that? I mean, taxpayers don't expect that, and I think Geauga County's done that several times in the past several years.
No, and I commend you, Craig, and JFS and the Budget Commission for doing that. Typically you do not hear this, at least in this neck of the woods of Ohio. You don't hear that a whole lot.
The last 2 years, I've taught classes on Budget Commission and its function to other auditors, and you're exactly right, Tim.
Yeah.
Most budget commissions are toothless tigers that do nothing but stamp papers and move them down the road. We take it seriously, and we make people identify their need, and if they can't, it's not theirs anymore.
Chris, is there any way that we would have a legal ability of actually, on the tax bill, of actually implementing a credit for the amount?
That would have to be taken to the tax equalization office. That's a giant bureaucracy that takes forever. We have only until November 15th to make this action.
Okay.
So that's not possible.
As long as you would pass a resolution before the 15th to get it to the auditor, then we would have time to adjust the
Yeah.
collection.
Right, because we have to report the, what levies are collected to the tax commissioner through a DTE form by the end of the year, right after the November election is certified. And then they produce the tax rates. So they would put a new tax rate that would discount the JFS levy.
Okay. I'd like to propose we start moving forward with preparing that resolution for this board to vote on immediately for the purpose of, so we can get the message out to the other taxing authorities to follow suit. And, you know, and I think it's on us to advocate for that, but also, you know, the public and everybody else that feels strongly to, you know, talk to their elected officials and different boards to try and, you know, do the same, to follow suit. And I think the quicker we do that, the better, you know, the better for the rest of the individuals out there to do it.
And we would appreciate if you sent the letter to the schools.
Absolutely.
We would take all the arrows. You guys can take a few.
We'll sign the letter. I don't know if there's anything technically that you need to help with the resolution from us, or if there's something.
I'm happy to have it run,
Yeah, okay.
Adrian, I think that's probably, I mean, we would just screw it up, to be honest.
Okay.
Yeah, we put something together the last time, so we'll get it to you soon.
With the changes in the new format for levy requirements for putting them on the ballot, I know that Kristen, Ryan, and Susan worked diligently on making sure that the new levy resolutions were up to the new information. So I would request that, like, they be involved with Laura in this process on getting this resolution prepared.
Yeah, there's no change to any levy language. It is a request of the board to suppress a collection of the levy, which is a budget commission function.
Right.
So,
but I would need that resolution prepared
Yep.
in order to get them before that.
Well, I think this is exactly what we're looking for, and I want to compliment the Budget Commission on this. And I think that we're going to be trendsetters in the state of Ohio, and other counties will follow suit rapidly. They really care about their taxpayers.
Well, and to that point, Commissioner, I would say, if for some miracle the State House were to do something that would remedy this prior to mid-November, we can revisit whatever action you take. I mean, we're not trying to take money where it's not deserving and where we just want to protect the taxpayer. So I know House Bill 187, people are hanging their hats on it, particularly schools. And if it does happen, it may have an effect, and we may have to adjust the numbers accordingly. But why do that until we know it's not been passed yet?
I just don't see how it's possible. I mean, it'd have to go through as an emergency, otherwise it'd take 90 days to take effect. It mandates him doing the re-eval of two more times of the 3 years. How is that going to be accomplished by January 1st? I totally agree, it's impossible. So I just think, and again, the schools have been kind of saying, well, this bill's out there, you know, we don't want to give back the money.
Months.
Exactly, and I just think it's a very unrealistic expectation.
No, this is, you know, when we asked you at budget hearing if there's anything we could do, I think this is a, you know, fantastic idea and creative idea to be able to be flexible. One, it gives us the flexibility, and to react quickly to this thing coming, because this is a giant kick, you know what, to everybody.
Well,
you know.
I did run, I'm testing the beta of the calculator for the website.
Yeah.
You and I are both not going to be very happy with the increase in our taxes.
No.
I'm just giving you the full I've run us both, and we're not going to be very happy.
And just to state publicly, Craig, you know, and I think from, you know, our position in interacting with JFS for Child Protective Services and placement specifically, we've always been very supportive of making sure that that is funded in whole. And we have other sources and avenues if that ever arose or came necessary. We've always, you know, told you that come to us if you ever need anything, but just a promise that we will continue to turn this money back around, that it's used directly for your purposes. So I just want to make that known.
I guess just for clarification, if we're asking the prosecutor's office to put these resolutions together, does the board want it to both be the two levies for JFS that are included in that, or? The one would only cover one, or
Well, that was Department of Aging.
Well, originally I said you could do one on GFS, one on, but that's twice the work for Adrian. He'd have to
Okay.
transfer money to two entities. It seemed to be easier to just do it all in JFS because they had adequate levies.
Okay, okay,
You could
yeah.
always tinker with the amount.
Yeah, that way you can throttle it. You say, we can work with one entity and you're not complicating it.
I mean, I'll draft it per Chuck's recommendation, if that's okay, we'll draft it that way, but then you can talk to Adrian and you can always adjust anything.
Does that make sense, Adrian? Being able to do that?
So we're talking, just for clarification, we're talking about the total suppression of the .5 mil JFS Children's Services levy and approximately how much of the other one, or just?
I gave all my copies away.
Here you go, right here. That one.
We're gonna-
0.7,
We're going to
that's
take
0.5.
the .7 levy down to .32.
Okay.
So one more quick question.
0.52,
Chris, you kind of answered this, but like when we have a situation where, ever since COVID, the sales tax has increased and just a flow of money has generated that we've got to a point that we've had a fairly, large surplus every year that continues to grow. So what legally, option-wise do we have to get to a point to say, we can't take any more, we want to try to maintain a number, because at the end of the day, if this just continues to go and continues to go, what is the correction? At what point can we do something to say, okay, we're going to figure out how to give back to our residents, of dollars that they've basically invested back into our county. In reality, they're almost like shareholders into this organization, the organization of, the county. And, in that situation, I know that there was a lot of concern going through the Budget Commission of surplus dollars. What do we do? How do we manage it? But there's never really been a good, solid answer to say, here's some of the options, option A, B, and C. But at the end of the day, I think that those options should be our taxpayers first, because ultimately they're the ones that are the investor into us. So, like, what legally could we do down the road to be able to do something? Like, is there anything possible where we basically can do something, a return back, and basically say, here's where we want to keep our dollars, and here's where we want to keep our budget, and we know going, perfect example, salaries, and we have our rainy day fund, we have whatever we need to do to protect the integrity of the operation. But beyond that, here's where it goes back.
Legally speaking, I defer to my attorney, who is a lawyer. But there are opportunities for the Board of Commissioners to return monies through these other levies that have been put on the ballot and passed. You could pre-fund them so that the collection would be reduced or eliminated, as is being recommended here.
Yeah, so those levies, there's the undivided local government fund. You could change the formula and give your share to the townships and the municipalities. You could do that. Again, that's not lowering the tax burden, but that's, shifting more money into the, political subdivisions. But again, the biggest impact you can have are these countywide levies that you have control over. Just paying for those department expenses out of the general fund, sales tax, for example, saying, okay, we've got this extra sales tax money, let's put that into aging, let's put that into JFS, and then draw down or eliminate those levies or suppress them. And, again, they're there if you need them, but then those people are getting tax relief year to year.
I see. Yeah, that makes sense.
I think there's an indirect way as well, which you are practicing. I know recently you suspended charging rent to like the Department of Health. And that is reflecting in a reduction of tax to the people, because if they were paying rent, they may have to increase their levy to everyone in the county, which is just moving the money, right? So if you say, look, we'll cover the rent or a portion of the rent, they can then keep their levy at an absolute minimum, which saves taxpayers money.
In theory, yeah.
The other thing
That's correct.
The other thing you have to remember, but all of you should, the other thing I'd like to point out, and I think I've mentioned it before, you've also completed one giant capital project, this one, without raising a nickel of taxes. You're completing another much-needed giant capital project without raising taxes one nickel. I mean, that's almost unheard of.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, the school can never do that. Cuyahoga County, I mean, they're talking about, you know, just
Sales
an
taxes,
enormous,
levies,
I mean, I think they're maxed out on their sales tax. So, I mean, look at what you've done, and again, that's a savings to the taxpayer because you've addressed these capital issues, and you haven't had to ask them for more money.
Right.
You've used the money that you've collected wisely and paid those costs that in most other counties, you would have had to go to the taxpayers and take it out of their pocket. So again, I mean, that's a big impact, and I think people don't realize that, but you didn't have to ask for any money there.
That's right.
I do believe without this leadership, no levy would pass in the county for the next 3 years.
I agree.
Imagine the impact that would have.
Oh, yeah.
I agree. I think I mean, even, this is going to be a tough environment regardless, you know. I mean, it's, you know, the increases are going this way and the real world's going this way, you know, so the timing could not be worse.
And we will revisit this, hopefully not a year from now, but maybe 10 months from now.
Well, we're going to do it in April when the schools come. Schools' budgets are early, so.
When are the schools, February or?
Well, we start looking at them in February, but I think we probably have them in for a hearing.
Are you able to, is the tax commission able to reduce?
Budget commission.
I mean, the budget commission, are you able to reduce their, if they have to say too much carryover?
Yes.
We are, but they also have appellate rights. So,
Okay.
you know, they can go to Columbus and wait X number of years and they can overturn us.
Because there's some pretty healthy carryovers, I believe, in a couple of schools, correct?
Yes.
I mean,
Yes, we talked to them last year about some of our concerns, and if those aren't addressed, you know, by February, March, then, at least in my view, there could be some issues there.
You know, I think this conversation, if you were a school board, we would probably be near the door right now. Because the reaction we got from them when we even questioned their carryover amount, articles in the paper came flying.
Oh, yeah.
These people don't understand education, and we don't understand education, but we do understand money.
Yeah, well, budgeting.
And whose money it really is.
Yeah.
It's not their money,
Yeah.
it's the taxpayers.
So do you have a list of what the carryovers were for each of the school districts in the county?
We do.
Is
Absolutely.
it something that we could get? Because what I was thinking is too, is just to basically be transparent with the public and maybe send out just a fact sheet of what we're looking to do. You know, because it is, our phone, and I'm sure you guys are in the same boat, it hasn't stopped ringing. You know, people are concerned about this, and a lot of the seniors especially.
Yep.
You know, you have a fixed income, and here's what you're looking at, and here's what you now are going to be paying. So there's a lot of fear in the unknown, I guess, too, right? But if there's a way that we could do this to be able to bring that to light, at the same time, I'm not saying to shame somebody to do the right thing, but at the same time, you know, when you really look at this and say, you know, what makes sense and what's the right thing to do? If we could, is there a possibility we could get that from you?
Absolutely.
We'll have, Ron can send you over the
Okay.
cash balances of all school districts, with the exception of the ones that are not in the county.
Okay.
Because we don't get their budget.
We don't review.
Okay.
We don't review theirs, but we'll get
But
that.
the school districts that are getting the largest amount of this inside millage increase.
Well,
I mean,
the two that came to mind were West G and Chardon were the two that had the highest cash balances.
Yeah.
We're talking tens of millions of dollars.
You know, and with your permission, if it would be something also that, this may be the third page attachment, or something that maybe we could also add
Yep.
in the packet that goes out.
So you want it in a spreadsheet form?
Correct, yeah. That would be great for us to be able to do that, but just so that people totally understand it, because here we are, you know, we have all these questions, and I can imagine, you know, just everybody else in the county's got the same questions, right?
Yeah.
So,
The auditor's done a great job, though. I mean, he's rolling out the
Yep.
individual calculator, but he's got a ton of information on the web.
yep,
So we're trying to direct people there. And
Totally agree, yeah.
And I think he didn't do a complete auditor speak, so it's somewhat understandable.
Well, we had a meeting last Thursday here in the building. We had between 50 and 75 residents come in, and overall, everyone were actually more knowledgeable than I gave them credit for initially. I thought nobody understood any of this.
Yeah.
And the reality is, people do learn. And their number one concern was, people try to mitigate this and say, oh, it's only $25 a month. That's only a pizza.
Right.
Well, to some people, that's paying for medical, that's paying for their medicines. It's like, you can't,
Yeah, if
it's not a
everybody
one size
says
fits
that,
all.
right, it's the price of a paperback
Yeah.
book. I remember
You got
that.
the gas companies telling you it's a pizza, everyone's telling you it's a pizza.
Yeah, there's a lot of pizzas.
A lot of pizzas.
Yeah.
So that's what I think people miss. It's not, you can't just look at this as one entity doing it.
That's right.
So you will directly reduce people's increase by 25%. That's incredible.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much for being so quick about this.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. Really appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
Jim, do you have to adjourn the meeting?
Oh, yeah. Motion to adjourn?
Yeah.
Thanks.
Second.
Okay, we're adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it. Yeah, you get that. I think,
If there's anybody actually, do we want to take any, does there anybody have any questions or anything regarding this too? Does anybody specifically have something? Yes?
On JFS's side of this,
Yeah.
is this a one-year solution, or is this gonna carry for a couple of years? What happens next year? Do we have to move to suppress again, assuming the collections will stay high in the second year following this reevaluation?
Chuck, do you want to answer that?
Yeah, so, the solution that we're proposing, I would call temporary. It's a 1 year, and it would have to be reviewed every year.
Okay.
If the State House doesn't do anything long-term to remedy this, we would obviously, as a Budget Commission, come back and plead our argument again. But that's a great question. It's a stopgap measure, is what we're trying to accomplish.
Okay. All right.
Jim, if it would make it easier, I could probably send the resolution that we had previously done for JFS's.
Yeah, that would be fine. I think I had it, but yeah, I was going to work off of
And
that
you can
same
kind
one.
of just take it from there.
and that's fine. And along with that, I think we need to begin preparing a letter to all the other taxing authorities and get that done, start working on that today, so we. Okay.
And we'll get you the specifics on their cash carryovers. Do you just want the school cash? The other cash carryovers there's nothing to, with the other
You should know the schools pretty
subdivisions.
quickly.
Schools are pretty
Right.
easy.
Like you, I'm talking about the royalty.
We'll get you the cash carryover on the
The
schools.
schools is
Very least.
what everybody is calling us about is really about the schools, basically saying, that they feel like, you look at that pie chart and you see what the percentages of our tax dollars that are going to the schools is absolutely, almost 50% of your tax money is going to the schools. So that's basically the concern, is to say, where does this stop? And so that, I think the schools would be really what we would probably look for more than anything else. Yeah.
We'll get you that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Appreciate you, Dad. Thank you for coming in. This is great.
Thanks a lot.
Yep, thanks. Okay. So that concludes that part of it, and we'll move ahead to number 11, which is,
This is a resolution regarding the ARPA funds. This is just a new resolution to correct or amend the original resolution that the commissioners approved to accept the ARPA funds and put them into specific sub-funds under that. This just rearranges the sub-funds so that going forward we can spend out of the ARPA funds.
Very good. So moved.
Do you have a spreadsheet of all the sub-funds and the percentage of the ARPA funds that we're receiving? Or,
Yeah.
tomorrow or what?
I can put that together, yes.
I'll second the motion.
Commissioner Lennon?
Aye.
Commissioner DeWort?
Yes.
okay, so, all right. So Christie, if you want to read number 12, then I'll...
So the Commissioner's Office is requesting the board move into executive session for the purpose of considering the purchase of property for public purposes and the sale of property at competitive bidding pursuant to RC 121.22G2.
Second?
Yes.
Commissioner DeWort?
Yes.
Aye.
And is it
He wasn't
All right,
Should have said that 11:30.
so we are back.
11:40.
in Executive session. So we're back from executive session at 11:39, and with just some direction as far as with Jerry, no action to... No action at this time. And let me see here. So we have all the dog warden reports in. Next week, there's actually 10:25, that'll be tomorrow.
10 a.m.
10 a.m. is this auditor's
Special
conference
ADP.
room, a special ADP, is that what? So
That's what I asked
Linda's
you
going
about.
to...
Yeah,
you're
we
going
can
to-
move.
Great.
Okay, and then we're going to hold a session at 9:30 on Tuesday again. Other than that, are there any questions? Or any feedback?
Question. I mean, I'd like to speak to the board about just action that occurred. I can do, I mean, I can do it publicly, or I can...
No, I mean, listen, I'd rather be transparent to it publicly.
Yeah, wanna come up here?
I got kicked out.
Sorry.
Morning.
So you guys obviously know Alyssa. This is our amazing financial guru at the agency, financial administrator. And, you know, we came here because we were, you know, interested in hearing what the Budget Commission was going to have to say, just in general. I know Alyssa pointed out there was an article in the paper last week about, you know, the millage and the taxes and so on and so forth. I just want to be transparent with the board and the community that I had no idea today that there was going to be any discussion about JFS, about JFS levies. As you guys know, last year we suspended collection on our 0.5 mil willingly, understanding that we want to be very, very careful stewards of taxpayer dollars for the community. As two individuals on the Budget Commission that I consider to be friends, I felt completely blindsided today about that discussion.
And just to be clear with that, we didn't know what the conversation all...
No, and
either, so you know, I mean, there was no...
I'm not suggesting that the board knew. I just feel that as a representative of the Commissioner's office and as your appointed executive director, that I should have been part of that discussion. Alyssa should have been part of that discussion. This should not have been the first time that we are hearing that this is going to be proposed in public session to the Board of County Commissioners who oversees the department.
Totally understand.
I have what I believe to be a very close and good working relationship with the auditor's office and with the prosecutor's office. Alyssa has to, and her team has to wage many battles getting things through the auditor's office, spending countless hours going through policies and procedures that are really burdensome for her staff. And I feel like it honestly is shameful that I have to come here and be absolutely blindsided talking about my budget that you guys asked me to oversee, and you guys know how diligent we are about that. And so it was very, very disheartening and very upsetting to me that to come in here and have my department named, have things that impact our budget. I will be proactive and take care of that. And Jerry and I talk about these things often. You guys know that we have a youth center project that's coming up that's going to cost in the neighborhood of $6 million. And so it just was a kick in the gut, to be honest with you.
And you know, not to speak for anybody, I think just from where I sat, I think there was such haste in trying to get some solutions and get some action done that maybe, maybe they didn't go directly to you to consult with you first about this or to give you a heads up on it, the Budget Commission, and, thought maybe, to speak to the budget or to the commissioners, we have to do it in open session. But yeah, I guess, maybe there could have been a heads up, but like I said to you, listen, regardless, we are committed to making sure that there will be no financial impact to JFS. They're not going to be at a loss, if anything. Even if there was an instance where it goes above the allotted amount, we've always been said, look, we'll go from the general fund to help with child protection.
And that is not even, I know how
Yeah.
supportive the board is.
Yeah.
And that's the part, is just to hear people come to you guys and talk about exercising leadership.
Yeah.
And communication is at the forefront of leadership. And it's our department that we're running for the community, and we are so diligent with our taxpayer dollars.
Great.
And so it was very, very frustrating. And again, I was stunned. I just literally stunned that I came to a meeting not even knowing that we were going to be the subject of discussion and subject of suspension of one levy
And that might have been
part of the other that we had no clue about when, and again.
We can take partial credit for, we probably should have. I actually, to be totally honest, it did kind of dawn on me to say, like, because when I was reading the letter last week that was sent from the Budget Commission, and I said, and then I saw it was on the agenda for today, I said, maybe we should reach out to Jessica and to Craig and make sure that they're aware. And, I'll take responsibility. I probably should have called you guys and said, hey, you might want to come to this meeting because we're going to discuss potentially doing this or that.
Yeah, because I mean,
so I'll take the responsibility.
No, I know this raised a really good point. The thing is again, we've been stewards of those dollars to make sure that we're maximizing, and to have JFS have one levy, because it's one thing where I can come to you guys and say I want to suspend it, but then to have the Budget Commission do that then makes me fearful going forward. That is, if they see that this is being done involuntarily, is the county going to support our levies going forward? That's my concern.
And that was.
Do you see where I'm coming from?
100%. That was a question I brought up, discussing this. What kind of impact, obviously financially we can take care of, but, as far as the public's perception of where JFS is.
Oh, they don't need, don't need it. I don't want the community, I'm only going to go to the community if we do.
What we're preparing is not only will we be sending out communication to the municipalities and all the other taxing authorities of schools, but we're also going to put out a letter to all the residents in the county explaining just that in detail, that this has no bearing on JFS's collection and the need of these dollars, because that still remains, the need still remains.
Yeah, and that we'll always be at the forefront, proactive. If we feel like it's not needed, that we'll always be the ones to.
And and I think maybe even take it a step further, Jerry, if we can, and Linda, if we can include Craig and his staff in before we send that letter out, making sure that that communication's accurate.
Well, and the one last thing, and I'm sorry, I'm not going to, I just want, again, inflation and everything is, this quiet, killer of many things. But the thing is with us, is you never know when a crisis is going to come about. When I took over the reins there, that was on the very precipice of the opiate crisis, and which impacted us greatly. And so, if there's ever a department that needs to have a little cushion in the bank to be able to prepare for that, so I don't have to come to the commissioners in a shock and awe moment. We want to be able to be prepared to handle those types of
Absolutely.
things. So I just want and you guys in the public to understand that.
And just to clear up, any misconception of what your carryover is, what you guys have been doing for a long time without having to go out and ask for more is, quietly saving up for this youth center. So
Yes.
that's why the numbers may look like,
And we actually went down with
Yeah.
suspending our levy.
Yeah.
We were, at 10 million, and then we went down, I want to believe, close to 9
Yeah.
and change. So we actually collected less than we spent.
No, you guys
So-
have been good stewards, and like you said, there's a lot of need out there, and you guys address it, and you've got our support. If anything were to spill over, this board's always
Yeah.
been there.
And just also to help the public understand is, at the height of the opiate crisis, we were spending $2.2 million a year just in placement costs. And that's how much those things can cost. And now with inflation, we're seeing some placement costs, in the neighborhood of $700, $800 a day for children at the high level. These are numbers that we never even thought we would see.
Right.
So again, we do need that flexibility, and
No, I can understand your kind of surprise and maybe frustration, but we'll take some of the blame there. It did cross my mind that, how things happen, it's quick, and it just, next thing you know, we're on the agenda, and then we're here. And I probably should have reached out to you and Jessica, just because those were the levies that we were considering.
Okay. Well, I appreciate that. And thank you for
And
the,
to add on to that too was, we kind of, got this ball kind of rolling, through budget hearings, was to say, this is in place, that we understand that the state has basically mandated these increases in these valuations, and, what options do we have? And that's just like I asked the treasurer, is there a way to make this simple enough to say we're just basically going to be able to do a credit on the tax bill? Just something that would be just easier to say, here's what we can do. But the reality of it is like we kind of initiated this to ask them, like, because we don't agree with this valuation. And the other thing, like, just so that we're clear on this too, is the move forward position is that if this is a way, if they don't figure out something legislatively, but there's a way that we could do this, because we were in the same situation at budget hearings, just like you were, because we had a surplus of X number of dollars that they're basically saying, we need to figure out what we're going to do and how we're going to spend this, or how we're going to do. Well, that's I think irresponsible to just spend it because you have it, because then when you spend it because you have it, you create costs down the road, so you can't do that. It's not a smart way to do business. Of course. You've got money, let's buy this car, but then when we can't afford it later to pay insurance and gas, then what do we do with the car? So you can't do that. So now what we have to look at is, if this is a tool moving down the road, and fortunately enough, this board has a great relationship with you guys of being able to work hand in hand. So that's one of the things that's nice for us to do it. But at the same time, our hands are handcuffed of how many options that we do have to do this, because if it's not you, it would have to be aging that is within that millage that we can basically do this with. So just, here's the deal. We've always been upfront with you guys, and you guys have always been upfront with us, and we're not going to go in a different direction to not support. We've always supported your levy. We've always supported this stuff. And, my apologies too, because I didn't know what to expect today. It was just, we asked for what options we had.
yeah, it's not about that. It's about just us being in the dark from the Budget Commission. It has nothing to do with you guys.
Yeah.
And we support it. It's just to come here, not really know it's consistent of suddenly, that's just being talked about.
I understand.
I'm glad you spoke up. Yeah, we have to hear this, but I think maybe we should hear from Jessica Bold as well, from the Department of Aging, to have her input as well.
But I can only imagine, and I don't want to speak for her, but if she didn't know that her department's was gonna be talked about today, I think she'd be surprised.
Oh, yeah.
So, that's all.
Well, I think in the end, too, it was twofold, the goal's twofold. One is to, protect the taxpayers and their, but also is to keep JFS at a revenue neutral. At the end of the day, that you hold back the levy, but the commissioner's funding it through the general fund. So
Again, it's not about, we support that and we get that, and I know you guys have our back. It was just about not having the heads up that, oh, by the way, this is gonna happen, and that was really the shock and awe about it, that's all.
That's understandable.
So, thank you.
Yeah, thanks, thank you, appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for coming in,
Thank
Craig.
you.
Good question too, by the way, as far as dealing with the annual, that was a good question on your part of asking that. So, thank you.
Thank you.
You're not done yet. One more thing.
Keep up the good work.
As you know, you guys approved for us to apply for the Healthy Aging Grant, and we did that on a very short notice, and once again, we got the documents last Wednesday, and they have to be turned in next Wednesday, and it has to be approved by the prosecutor's office, but when we requested review, we were turned down and told that you had to take an action in order to request for them to review the Healthy Aging Grant Agreement. So I'm here before you to ask that. Do we have a motion?
So let me ask, what did they say to you then?
What they said was essentially, we have to have a motion from the board in order to look at this. And I went back at them and I reminded them about the motion you passed last week for past, present, and future. And the answer was no.
So they're refusing to...
Without another motion, a specific request for that to be
Because
considered.
I thought that we clarified this last week with the motion that we did.
I thought we did too. I thought we did it with the resolution you guys passed 3 weeks ago, or and definitely with last week's motion.
Correct.
So came back and said they wanted to.
And I also
So
told you that if
anytime
it doesn't get approved, then that's $200,000 we won't get, and I have to turn it in 11/1.
So anytime, so just to be clear, so anytime we want any type of communication or answer from the prosecutor's office, this board has to gather on, a Tuesday or a special meeting potentially to get an answer?
It is appearing to be that way, yes.
For what purpose? Maybe
To say,
give me
would you
some
please
background.
review that? This was a decision that was made by the prosecutor a few weeks ago and conveyed to us, and we've tried to address it twice. You passed a resolution, and then you passed a motion last week, and the response is, no, I need a motion for that. They want a motion for everything.
I mean, it's just...
I mean, we're their clients.
Yeah, right, it just...
Was she aware though of that other motion that we...
100%, we
Actually sent it to her.
Yes.
And said, can you please now finish reviewing the public records request that I had asked for, that I got told now.
Okay.
I mean, it's not
So
productive.
let me ask you, what if, Jim, would you feel comfortable to maybe reach out as, on behalf of the commissioners, maybe to contact the prosecutor's office to maybe talk to the prosecutor and just get maybe a little more clarification to just try to shortcut this a little bit? I mean, we'll go ahead and move forward with this motion that you need today, but would you mind maybe just
I'll reach out
to say,
I mean, we just got to conduct business, everybody, right?
Well,
Okay, the issue really comes down to some situations like this. We get stuff from the state that we need to turn around quickly. And if we have to wait till the session, if it comes in on Friday, we have to wait till Tuesday session and then send it up. Whereas normally we'd send it out on Friday, which gives us...
Is it because they're too busy, or what? I don't understand why.
I have no idea because I don't get any communication from the prosecutor.
Okay. All right.
Because the other part of this too is if there's a situation that if it's a manpower issue that then, what's the possibility? We have so much here that we deal with between all of our departments that, if it's a manpower issue that we can't do that, what's the possibility then that we look at the possibility of adding a person that we would be able to have here in-house to be able to do that? you
Like
know?
a legal representative.
Right, that would just basically fall under, you know, to handle all of our
I mean, I think the
legal
auditor's office has
situations.
one.
Right.
You do as the board have that authority under the Ohio Revised Code to hire an in-house counsel.
Well, even if it wasn't in-house, if it was just a...
Through Jim's office.
Through Jim's office that works here, you know, to be able to help us with this. You know, with the contracts
Well, that's kind of what we
and...
had in Laura, and when I had a conversation with the prosecutor, he said, nobody else gets the kind of service that you guys get. And I said, well, in fairness, we have to do a lot.
Right, and there's a lot of
We're
departments...
doing
you
it
know,
for not just the prosecutor, but everybody.
Right.
Well, and that's something further is that the prosecutor has said, along with the motion required from the board, that any of the departments under the commissioner's hiring authority, that the request has to come from the director and not from somebody else in their department.
I see.
So I don't know
So,
necessarily.
Jim, maybe you could talk to
This
them
is a
about that,
new,
too.
this is a new standard that we've never developed, and I don't know if it's like a workflow thing, or if it's just...
I'll find out. Yeah.
Yeah.
If we can, and then, you know, and if it's a situation that we could do that, possibility of looking at possibly bringing somebody in-house here that we would be able to have, you know, whether we...
Just reviewing
his office,
contracts
And that would be all to just, and take a little bit of workload off of them, you know?
Okay.
Make a motion.
I'll make the motion.
Do we have the motion? Do we have language?
Yeah, the commissioner's office requests the board authorize Linda Henny to make the request to the prosecutor's office for review of the
Agreement for the health and
grant.
aging grant.
Okay, so moved.
Second.
Commissioner London?
Yes.
Commissioner DeBoer?
Yeah.
Commissioner Spillier?
And then I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All in favor?
All right.